This is Craig with Sports Field Solutions, and today we're going to be covering the best practices for mowing to have the healthiest and best looking sports field you can. Whenever it comes to mowing, one of the most important things you can do is mow. Mow your fields often. Kind of the general rule of thumb, most of us have probably heard it, is the 1/3 rule. You don't ever want to mow more than 1/3 of the length of blade of grass that's showing. And to achieve this, you're going to need to mow a little bit more frequently or keep mowing at a consistent basis. The main reason you don't want to do this is because when you have a tall grass and you mow, let's say half of it or more off, it adds a lot of stress to the grass, and it can actually cause a lot of disease, drought, and a lot of different issues that come along just with the health of the grass. But then also for your mower as well. The more your mower has to work to cut through the grass, the more strain you're putting on that. So keeping a frequent and consistent schedule for when you mow your fields is really important when it comes to best mowing practices. Next, we're going to talk about the height of cut. There's a lot of variety when we talk about the height of cut in between which sports fields you're playing on, whether it's football, baseball, soccer, or softball. And then also the next thing is going to be whether or not your field is overseeded. So when it comes to overseeding or not overseeding, Bermuda grass, for the height of cut, you want to try to stay anywhere between 1/2 of an inch and an inch. The nature of how Bermuda grass grows, it grows laterally as much as it grows vertically. So keeping it lower promotes lateral growth, and where like a ryegrass or a cool season grass that you may be overseeding with, you want it to grow up a little bit higher, and you want to keep that height of cut somewhere between 1 inch to 2 inches, depending on several factors, where your budget, your maintenance ability, your coaching staff may have a different preference for how you want to do it. But I really want you to keep that in consideration when depending on what fields you're actually mowing, and then what grass you're mowing. Another good example of this is like if you're mowing a football field and you have it overseeded, you actually may want that grass to be a little bit taller. That provides a little bit more cushion for your players when they're falling, or to add a little bit more safety to it. Where like a softball field like we're on here now, you probably want to keep that ryegrass or even the Bermuda grass a little bit lower, especially for soccer as well, so that grass doesn't influence the ball roll, because ball roll is such an important part of the game. So a couple different factors when you're thinking of height of cut there, but mainly what you're looking at is Bermuda, keep it a little bit short, 1/2 an inch to 1 inch. Ryegrass, you want a little bit taller, keep it between somewhere 1 inch to maybe 2 inches. Next, that goes along with both of height of cut and the frequency is going to be sharp blades. If there's one thing out of this video that I hope to get across, is going to be please keep your blades as sharp as you can. This goes back to one, stress on the mower and the plant itself. So if you have dull blades and you're trying to mow the grass, you're going to be bending or breaking the grass. It's going to be detrimental to the health of your turf, but then also potentially introduce disease, drought, and the things like I was mentioning earlier when it comes to mowing frequently. The next thing with the sharp blades is going to be when you're bending and breaking that grass blade, you're also going to have to probably mow it a couple more times than you would like to, spending more hours on it because you're not getting a clean quality of cut. So keeping sharp blades is incredibly important for the health of your field and also the machine itself. Talk about mowing direction and mowing pattern. A general rule of thumb, anytime you mow an athletic field, you want to try to mow it in a different direction than you did the previous time. So the main thing behind this is if your grass is like this and you always mow it with whatever direction, always going this way, your grass will actually start to naturally grow that way, and it'll be really difficult to ever go back the other way. So keeping your directions varied, whether you go straightaways or side to side or back arc, always try to change the direction that you're mowing your grass to keep that grass growing straight up. Another thing that goes along with the direction is also sports field mowing patterns. So as you can see here, we're on a softball field and they put a pattern in the field. What you're seeing, so the light stripes are going out. The dark stripe has been mowed coming back towards the camera, and all this is the different grass blades laying a different direction, and as the sun hits it, it causes a little shadow here, causing the darker stripes, and as it hits this one, causing the light stripes going out, it's actually a reflection, making it the light stripe. So that's the kind of mechanics behind putting a pattern in, but there's several different ways you can utilize a pattern. One, it's a great way to kind of make your field pop if you have a showcase game or you just kind of want to jazz up the field a little bit. But honestly, it's another way that you can kind of hide blemishes in your field. If you have a wear area, or if you have maybe an outbreak of weeds somewhere in your field, putting a pattern in it draws people's eyes to the pattern and not quite as much as it is to the weeds or maybe the blemish that's on your field. So both of those are ways to not only improve the health of your field by changing up the directions, but can also improve the aesthetics of your field by putting in a pattern and making your field pop a little bit. Most of the time, our common areas will have more weeds prevalent than our athletic fields. When you mow your common area with the same mower that you bring onto your sports fields, you can actually bring the weeds themselves or weed seeds and transport those weeds pretty quickly, causing an outbreak onto your sports field. So if there's any way that you can either keep a common area mower that's only for common area and then a sports field that stays on your athletic fields, that's a great way to do it. If not, trying to either blow off or ideally hose off your mower in between transitioning from the common area to your sports fields. It kind of can seem cumbersome, but it's a really important way. Getting weeds out of your field is a really difficult and can be expensive thing to do. So if you can find a way to keep apart your common area and your athletic fields, it'll be really beneficial to you moving forward.